Chapter 3, Anatomy for Central Service Technicians. Learning Objectives. As a result of successfully completing this chapter, readers will be able to 1. Review the structure, function, activities, and role of cells, tissues, and organs in the body. 2. Identify and describe the structure and roles of each major body system and identify common surgical procedures that involve each of the 9 systems: skeletal, muscular, nervous, endocrine, reproductive, urinary and excretory, respiratory, digestive, and circulatory. And 3, explain how knowledge of anatomy can help with surgical instrument identification. Introduction. Many surgical interventions have been developed to treat the human body and enable it to heal. Central service technicians play an important role in the surgical process by providing the instruments and supplies needed to perform specific surgeries. As members of the surgical team, developing a basic understanding of the body can aid in communication with the operating room and can help facilities' requests. The study of the human body requires an understanding of anatomy and physiology. Our study begins by considering cells, tissues, and organs. Definitions. Anatomy. The study of the structure and relationship between body parts. Physiology. The study of the functions of body parts and the body as a whole. Cells, tissues, and organs cells. Here are some facts about cells. They are the basic living unit of life. The human body is made up of more than 100 trillion of these tiny structures. They vary in size, shape, and function depending upon their location in the body. They are so small that they can only be seen with a microscope. Within each cell are smaller structures called organelles, microscopic organs within a cell that perform specific functions. Functions of the cell include respiration, nutrition, energy production, waste elimination, and reproduction. Living cells come only from the other living cells. Regardless of their size and shape, each human cell consists of 3 main parts. The cell membrane. The cell membrane is a porous and flexible and surrounds the cell to keep it separated from the outside environment. The cell membrane surrounds the cytoplasm and allows and controls the passage of materials in and out of the cell. Examples include the absorption of oxygen and food and the elimination of waste products produced by the cells. Figure 3.1 shows that example. 2. The cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is a clear jelly-like substance that surrounds the nucleus and contains the cell fluid and organelles. The nucleus. The nucleus is surrounded and protected by the cytoplasm. This oval structure acts as the brain center of the cell to direct and control all activities, including duplication into 2 new cells. Definitions. Cell. The basic unit of life, the smallest structural unit of living cell organisms capable of performing all basic functions of life. Cell membrane. The outer covering of a cell that regulates what enters and leaves it. Cytoplasm. Clear jelly-like substance of a cell between the cell membrane and nucleus. Nucleus. The functional center of a cell that governs activity and heredity. Tissue. 2 or more cells that are similar in structure and function are joined together to form tissue. The 4 primary tissues of a human body are epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue is the tissue that covers the body, external surface of the skin, and the linings of the body cavities, the mouth, the ears, the nose, and the throat. Connective tissue. Connective tissue is the tissue that provides support, so it stores energy and connects other tissues and parts. Example of connective tissues include bone, fat, blood, and cartilage. Bones provide protection, support, and shape to the body and storage for calcium. Fat keeps the body warm, cushions organs, and stores nutrients. Blood transports food and oxygen to all body parts and removes all waste products. A final example of connective tissue is cartilage, which provides framework and support to the human body. Muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is the tissue that shortens as it contracts. When attached to bone, these contractions make body movements possible. Muscle tissues also line the inner walls of the organs and contract to help food pass through the digestive system. As cardiac muscles contract, blood is pumped through the body. Nervous tissue. This tissue is located throughout the body. When stimulated, nervous tissue carries messages back and forth between the brain and every part of the body. Organs. Organs are formed when two or more different types of tissue are grouped together to perform a specific function. Example of organs include the brain, an organ in the central nervous system that is the primary receiver, organizer, and distributor of information in the body. Heart, the organ that pumps blood throughout the body. Stomach, an organ that is a part of the digestive system and helps digest food by mixing it with digestive juices and converting it into a liquid. Skin, the largest organ of the body that serves as the body's outer covering. Definitions. Tissue, a group of similar cells that perform a specialized function. Organ, a part of the body containing two or more tissues that function together for a specific purpose. Body systems. There are 9 body systems. A system is a group of organs that work together in the body to carry out a particular activity. While each body system provides a specific bodily function, none are independent from one another. Each system must work together to help the body function as a total organism. With the exception of the reproductive system, each body system and its organs work together to help maintain life. The remainder of this chapter will provide details about the body's major systems and common procedures performed to treat issues that can occur in those body systems. The 9 body systems. 1. Skeletal system. Without the skeletal system as seen in figure 3.2, the body would just be an immovable mass. There are approximately 206 bones that collectively comprise the body's skeletal system. They are arranged in an orderly manner and are fastened together by tough connective tissue known as tendons and ligaments. The 5 main body functions of the skeletal system are to give the body shape and support, allow movement, protect vital organs, produce blood cells, and store calcium. Most bones are made from cartilage, but through a process known as ossification, cartilage is sometimes replaced by bone. Cartilage is a flexible connective tissue that provides framework to the body. It produces and includes supporting body structures such as the ear and nose, connecting the ribs to the sternum, serving as a cushion between bones to prevent them from rubbing together at junctures and joints. Definitions. System, a group of organs that work together to carry out a specific activity. Tendon, a cord of fibrous tissue that attaches a muscle to a bone. Ligament, a band of connective tissue that connects a bone to another bone. Cartilage, a type of flexible tissue, connective tissue. Ossification, the process by which cartilage is replaced by bone. Joint, any place where 2 bones meet. A joint is any place where 2 bones meet. Some are removable, such as those found in the skull, and others, such as knee and elbow joints, are movable and allow the bones that they connect to move. See figure 3.3, which shows the location of some joints in the body. There are several types of joints. Gliding joints allow the head to lower as the vertebrae of the neck slide over one of the bones in the spinal column. Ball and socket joints allow movements like swinging one's arm around in a circle. Ball and socket joints consist of a bone with a rounded head that fits into a rounded cup, like the hip and shoulder joints, and the socket of another bone. Pivot joints allow a turning motion such as the palm of a hand rotating up and down when a bone rotates in a ring-shaped bone. Hinge joints allow backward and forward bending motions like a door hinge, which are in knees, knuckles, and elbows. The overall covering or lining of a joint is called the synovial membrane. It secretes a fluid called synovial fluid to lubricate joint surfaces, as seen in figures 3.4 and 3.5. Bones are comprised of living tissue, and their strength and hardness come from a chemical substances called minerals. Bones consist of two principal materials: a hard outer material called cortical or compact bone. This is dense and strong and consists of calcium and phosphorus. This hard outer surface is surrounded by the periosteum, a tough membrane that contains bone-forming cells and blood vessels. Second, the intersection, called spongy or cancellous bone, is porous. Bones are filled with a material called marrow. A pipeline of blood vessels and nerves run through the middle of the thick bones. Example of surgical procedures that involve skeletal system. Craniotomy, making an opening into the skull to access the brain. Anterior cervical fusion, removal of disc tissue pressing on a nerve in the neck area by inserting a piece of bone between the vertebrae and fusing this area with plates and screws. Posterior lumbar interbody fusion, also known as PLIF, posterior lumbar interbody fusion. Removing disc tissue pressing on the lower spine area by inserting a piece of bone between the vertebra and fusing this area with plates and screws. Open reduction internal fixation, known as ORIF, O-R-I-F, open reduction internal fusion. Making an incision in the skin, realigning a fractured bone, and inserting screws and plates to ensure that the bone ends do not move so healing could be promoted. Look at 3.7 chart to see an example of this. Also, total knee arthroplasty, also known as TKA, total knee arthroplasty. Removing the bone at the distal farthest end of the femur and the bone at the proximal nearest end of the tibia and replacing them with metal or plastic components, as seen in figure 3.8. Also, total hip arthroplasty, THA, total hip arthroplasty. Removing the head of the femur and the socket where it fits in the hip bone and replacing these structures with metal, ceramic, or plastic components, as seen in chart 3.9. Also, external fixation, treating fractures with an extensive tissue damage with either an optimal frame, which is placing pins with the connected tubes to create a frame, or module external fixator, a rod or rods to connect for construction, to hold the bones together. See figure 3.10 for an example. And also hip pinning, stabilizing broken hip bones with surgical screws, nails, rods, or plates, also known as internal fixation of the hip. See example 3.11 in the chart. Trigger finger release, stenosing tenosynovitis, stenosing tenosynovitis, making a small incision in the palm, then cutting the tendon sheath tunnel to widen it and allow a tendon to slide through it more easily. Trigger finger release. This is a form of an ergonomic injury. Finally, tibial osteotomy, a procedure to realign the knee by wedging open the upper shin bone, the tibia, to reconfigure the knee joint. The weight-bearing part of the knee is then shifted from degenerative or worn tissue into healthier tissue. The second system, muscular system. The muscular system works with the skeletal system to enable movement of the body or the materials through the body. See figure 312 for an example. Even as one sleeps, many of the more than 600 muscles in the body, including 400 which are skeletal muscles, are actively working at work to keep us alive. For example, heart muscles contract to pump blood throughout the body. Chest muscles contract to move air in and out of the lungs. Muscles in the digestive tract move food and fluid through the body. Muscles throughout the body contract to produce heat and maintain the body's core temperature. Muscles are made up of long, thin cells or fibers that run parallel to one another, and they are bundled together by connective tissue called fascia. Muscle fibers have ability to contract or shorten, and this contraction causes body movements. Definition: fascia, band of sheets and fibers, connective tissue. There are 3 types of muscle tissue: skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. See figure 313 for the example. Skeletal muscles. Skeletal muscles are attached to bones by tendons. As skeletal muscles contract, the arms, legs, head, and other body parts to which they are attached move. We can consciously control skeletal muscles. They move only when we want them to. Smooth muscles are organized into thin, flat sheets of tissue. Smooth muscles are called involuntary or visceral muscles because they contract and function without our conscious control automatically. They control breathing and the movement of food and fluid in the digestive system, movement of blood throughout the circulatory system, and the movement of urine through the urinary system. And finally, cardiac muscle is similar to woven mesh fibers that branch throughout the heart to give it more strength to pump blood. These involuntary durable muscle fibers contract and make the heart beat. In a healthy heart, they do not normally tire. To function properly, these muscle fibers require energy derived from food consumption or consumed food, and oxygen derived from the environment when we breathe. Their functions include movement and support, the maintenance of posture, and the body position and the production of body heat. Examples of procedures involving the muscular system: fasciotomy, making an incision into the fibrous membrane covering the muscle, usually to relieve pressure from an injured or swollen muscle. Herniorrhaphy, repairing a cavity wall muscle layer that is allowing all or part of an organ to project through the opening. Another example: rotating cuff repair, repairing the muscles and ligaments of shoulder joints depend on the size and shape of the tear. Frequently used methods are Bankart, Putty-Platt, and Bristow procedures. All procedures of repairing a rotator muscle in the shoulder. See example 314 as an example of rotator cuff repair. And anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, anterior cruciate ligament. Rebuilding the ligament in the center of the knee with a new ligament from the patient's own body, or from a deceased donor, usually by knee arthroscopy. In some cases, ACL repair is done by making an incision into the knee, which is an open procedure. Also, see figure 315 for that example. Also, muscle biopsy, removing a small sample of muscle tissue for testing in a laboratory using either a needle biopsy, inserting a needle into the muscle, or open biopsy, making a small cut in the skin and into the muscle. And finally, tendon repair, treatment that retrieves a torn tendon and reattaches it, tenodesis, or to soft tissue or bone with a small incision or arthroscopic techniques. Next is nervous system, the fourth system. Nervous system, including sense organs. The nervous system is a vast communication network. It coordinates and carries messages between all parts of the body, and it enables us to be aware of changes in the environment and to react accordingly. A complex series of nervous tissues, someone like electrical wiring, runs from the brain and spinal cord throughout the entire body system. See figure 316 for an example. The nervous system controls all body activities and allows us to respond to stimuli. Many reactions are automatic, such as blinking when a foreign object approaches the eye. Nerve tissue carries electrical messages from the brain and spinal cord that signal muscles to contract. Other actions are more conscious and involve emotion, reason, and memory. Like a computer, the brain stores information based on past experiences that can later be communicated to the body by the nervous system. Anatomically, the nervous system is divided into two parts: central nervous system, CNS, and peripheral nervous system, PNS. The central nervous system, CNS, consists of the brain and spinal cord, which are covered by protective membranes called meninges. The CNS is the body's control center and is the storehouse for information about what is happening or has happened within or outside the body. The brain, a spongy and complex organ, is the main control unit of the CNS. It is comprised of more than 100 billion nerve cells. The brain is divided into three parts. Each carries out a specific function: cerebrum, cerebellum, and the brainstem. See figure 317 for an example. The cerebrum is the largest part of the human brain. It functions to do the following: manage the nerve impulses that allow us to think, speak, and remember, control most voluntary muscle contractions, interpret information gathered by the senses, and influence the foundation of personality, emotions, and attitudes. Definition: central nervous system, CNS, the part of the nervous system that includes the brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system, PNS, all nerve tissues outside the central nervous system. Brain, the main control unit of the central nervous system. Cerebrum, the largest part of the brain. It controls mental activities and movement. Cerebellum, the second largest part of the brain. It controls the muscle coordination, body balance, and posture. Brainstem, this controls many automatic body functions such as heartbeat and breathing. The cerebrum is divided into two halves, hemispheres. Each half controls different mental activities and movement on the opposite side of the body. A series of nerve pathways run between each half to facilitate. So the left side of the brain controls right body function. The right side of the brain controls left body function. The cerebellum is located inferior, below, and posterior behind the cerebrum. It is the second largest part of the brain, and its role is to adjust the motor impulses that control muscular coordination, body balance, and posture. The brain stem is located at the base of the brain and is formed by bundles of nerves that extend from the cerebrum and the cerebellum. The lowest part of the brainstem is the medulla oblongata and joins the brain to the spinal cord. It contains nerve centers that control many automatic body functions, including heartbeat and breathing. PNS involves the network of nerves and sense organs that branch out of the CNS and connect the CNS to the other parts of the body. One part, the automatic nervous system, controls all involuntary body process. Like heartbeat and peristalsis, the rippling motion of muscles in the digestive tract that mixes food with gastric juices to form a thin liquid. Other nerves are under direct control of the conscious mind. When we tell our hand to wave, for example, a message is sent from the brain down the spinal cord through a peripheral nerve to our hand. 5. Sense organs. The sense organs are the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the skin. They are accessory structures of the nervous system that provide an impression of all that surrounds us. They house special sensory receptors that are message-carrying structures. Most sense organs respond to stimuli from outside the body, while others keep track of the body's internal environment. They respond to light, sound, taste, chemicals, heat, and eye pressure. Eyes. Eyes, refer to figure 318 to see an example, are the organs of vision. They produce images by focusing light rays that are interpreted by the brain. The eyes consist of 3 layers of tissues. First, the sclera is the white portion of the eye and serves as the outer coat to provide protection. At the center front of the sclera is a transparent protective shield called the cornea. Third, the choroid is the middle layer of the eye that furnishes nourishment to the eye via blood vessels. The choroid layer includes the iris, a muscle that is the colored portion of the eye. I have brown eyes. My iris is brown. A circular opening called the pupil is found at the center of the iris. It controls the amount of light entering the eye as it narrows or widens. Between the cornea and the eye lens is the aqueous humor, a watery-like fluid that fills the anterior, the front compartment of the eye. The retina is the eye's 3rd layer. It is located at the back surface of the eyeball. The eye lens focuses light onto the retina, which contains light-sensitive cells called receptors that receive and transmit impressions to the brain through the optic nerve. The vitreous humor is a fluid-filled compartment of the eye that gives the eyeball its round shape. Ears. Ears are the organs of hearing. They are made up of 3 parts, the external, the middle, and the inner. See figure 319 for an example of this. Sound waves travel through the ear to the auditory nerve that transmit nerve impulses to the brain. Here's how the ear allows us to hear. The external ear serves as a funnel that gathers sound waves and passes them through the ear canal to the tympanic membrane, also known as the eardrum. The eardrum consists of a tightly stretched membrane that separates the outer ear canal from the middle ear canal. Vibrations of the eardrum enter the middle ear, which contain 3 tiny bones, the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. The sound vibrations are then passed through these bones into a fluid-filled inner ear. Their vibrations are channeled through the fluid into a spinal-shaped tube called the cochlea, which contains the receptors or nerve endings that transmits nerve impulses to the brain. The inner ear also contains semicircular canals consisting of 3 curved tubes filled with fluid. Body balance is regulated by this fluid as it shifts with movement. As the fluid shifts, it presses against the tiny hairs, stimulating nerve impulses that travel to the brain. The brain responds to these impulses by coordinating muscle movement. The nose. The nose is the organ of smell and consists of many sensory receptors or cells. These receptors are located in the mucous membrane of the nasal cavity and are sensitive to chemicals carried throughout the air. The olfactory nerve endings extend to the receptors and are stimulated by different odors. Olfactory bulbs are then the enlarged portions at the end of the olfactory nerves. Tongue. The tongue is the organ of taste and is covered with taste buds, sensory receptors. The sense of taste, like smell, is a chemical sense. Chemicals are carried by the saliva throughout the mouth. Taste buds, located in different areas of the tongue, can distinguish 4 kinds of taste: sweet, sour, bitter, and salty. There are 80 different types of chemical odors, and the combination of taste and odors produce flavors. Skin. The skin is the largest body organ. It contains many nerve endings at and below its surface. The skin, therefore, acts as an important sensory organ. Touch receptors near the skin surface allow us to distinguish textures and to respond to hot or heat and cold. Further, below the skin surface are receptors that respond to touch and pressure. The sense of pain stimulates nerves and sends messages to the potential danger to the brain. There are numerous surgical procedures involving the nervous system. Craniotomy, creating an opening in the skull to expose the brain to facilitate procedures such as the removal of tumors and clots. Carpal tunnel repair, removal of tissue or displaced bone in the wrist area to release pressure on the median nerve. See figure 320 for an example. Also, ulnar nerve transportation, making an incision in the elbow area, allowing ulnar nerve to be moved to an area that provides protection and comfort. Also, cataract extraction with implant, removing a clouded eye lens and replacing it with clear artificial lens replacements. See figure 3.21 for an example. Corneal transplant, grafting corneal tissue from a donor eye to another to improve vision when the cornea is damaged or scarred. Bilateral myringotomy with tubes, also known as BMT, bilateral myringotomy with tubes, making an incision into the tympanic membrane, the eardrum, to permit fluid to drain. Small tubes are placed in the membrane to allow continuous drainage. The tubes fall out as the membrane heals. Stapedectomy, removal of the stapes or ear bone when it is thickened and no longer transmits sound waves. It is replaced with an artificial implant to improve hearing. Tympanoplasty, reconstructing the eardrum so sound waves can be sent to the middle and inner ear. Finally, split thickness skin graft, STSG, split thickness skin graft. Cutting the skin graft from a donor site and using a graft mesher to expand the graft. The graft is then transplanted into the surgical area. The next system is the endocrine system. This is the 4th system. So we've done skeletal system 1, muscular system 2, nervous system 3, endocrine system 4. These sense organs fall under the nervous system. 4, endocrine system. The endocrine system adapts to changes in the environment. During times of excitement, stress, or when one feels threatened, how does the body react? Chances are muscles tense, the heartbeat quickens, and breathing rhythm changes. Those rapid changes in bodily functions are set in motion by hormones or secretions produced by the glands of the endocrine system. See figure 3.22 for an example. These glands and the substances they produce have a profound influence on the bodily functions such as metabolism, growth, and personality. Since hormones are distributed throughout the body, the endocrine glands that produce them are not necessarily next to the organs they control. Regardless of where hormones enter the bloodstream, they continue their journey throughout the circulatory system until they reach their targeted organ. Tissue cells and organs recognize and accept hormones made for them and reject others that are not. The nervous system and endocrine system work together. When the brain interprets information as a threat, it rapidly sends out nerve impulses that trigger certain endocrine glands and release their hormones into the bloodstream. In fearful situations, the hormones cause the heartbeat to accelerate and prepare muscles for action. In this state, one is ready for fight or flight, to defend or run. The major glands of the endocrine system include pituitary gland, a small pea-shaped gland located at the base of the brain. It is considered the master gland because it helps control the activities of all other endocrine glands. Its secretions also stimulate skeletal and body growth, development of sex organs, regulation of blood pressure, the reproductive process, and the muscle development. Thyroid gland, located at the base of the neck just below the larynx, voice box. Its hormones help to regulate the rate of metabolism and maintain the body's levels of calcium and phosphorus. Parathyroid gland, 4 pea-shaped glands located or sometimes in the thyroid that control the body's calcium level. Adrenal glands. During sudden stress, these glands, which are located at the top of each kidney, release adrenaline that increase our heart rate and physical strength. Adrenaline also enhances our ability to think and respond more quickly than usual in emergency situations. Pancreas, located just below the stomach, this gland contains cells organized into groups known as the islets or Langerhans. 2 primary hormones are produced by the pancreas islets: insulin, which produces the level of sugar in the bloodstream, and glucagon, which can increase the blood's sugar level. Ovaries, female sex glands, produce 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen is produced and is responsible for the development of female characteristics, and progesterone, together with the estrogen, regulates the menstrual cycle. Testes, male glands, male sex glands that produce the hormone testosterone that stimulate development of masculine characteristics.